We use an expression for people who don't want to work. They don't want to get their hands dirty. Well, when we talk about having dirty hands, it's an expression for working hard. We want to have dirty hands in the sense that we want to work hard for the Lord. Now, this is Labor Day weekend. It's a time each year that we celebrate work and workers and the workplace. But we remember that work is good. We are conditioned sometimes to think that work is bad. It was all part of the curse. If only Adam hadn't eaten that apple, then we wouldn't have to work. But we forget that Adam had to work before the fall, because Adam was given jobs by God. He was assigned to name all the animals. He was assigned to care for the garden. Adam was given work because work is not part of the curse. Rather, work is part of the very character of God. In fact, the very first thing we see in Scripture, Genesis 1:1, we see God working. God works for 6 days, creating the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day, he rests. So this weekend, we remember that we work because God is a God of work. And our working is a way to honor him. And lest we ever forget, our work is very important. I found a very interesting story this week, and this is sort of a rabbit trail till we get into the main topic. But a true story that shows how very important our work can be. On the night of August 8th in 1942, 19-year-old signalman, third class Elgin Staples of Akron, Ohio, was saved by someone over 8,000 miles away. Serving aboard the cruiser USS Astoria in World War II, the boat suddenly came under attack by a force of Japanese cruisers. And in the bombing, Staples was propelled overboard. Dazed and wounded in his legs by shrapnel, Elgin was kept afloat thanks to an inflatable rubber life belt he had put on shortly before the explosion. 4 hours later, Staples, along with other survivors, was rescued by the destroyer USS Bagley and returned to the Astoria, which was heavily damaged. Unfortunately, 6 hours later, the Astoria sank, putting Staples back into the water, still wearing the same life belt. Rescued a second time by the transport USS President Jackson, signalman Staples was given leave to return home. It was while on board the President Jackson that Staples first closely examined the life belt which had saved him. And he was surprised to find that it had been manufactured in his hometown of Akron, Ohio, by the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. He also noticed an unusual set of numbers stamped on the belt. Returning home to Akron, Staples brought the life belt that had saved him to show his family. And he writes about this encounter. He says, "After a quietly emotional welcome, I sat with my mother in our kitchen, telling her about my recent ordeal and hearing what had happened at home since I had gone away. My mother informed me that to do her part, she had gotten a wartime job at the Firestone plant. Surprised, I jumped up and grabbed my life belt from my duffel bag, put it on the table in front of her. 'Take a look at that, Mom,' I said. 'It was made right here in Akron at your plant.' She leaned forward and taking the rubber belt in her hands, she read the label. She had just heard the story and knew that in the darkness of that terrible night, it was this one piece of rubber that had saved his life. When she looked up at him, her mouth and her eyes were wide open with surprise. 'Son, I'm an inspector at Firestone.' In a voice hardly above a whisper, she said, 'This is my inspector number.' Because the mother did her job well, her son's life was spared. Sometimes the way we work has life and death consequences. It was Mrs. Staples making sure that the life belts were properly made that saved the life of her son twice. But this morning, as we think about having an extreme makeover, it's not just our physical work that's